Even if you're not a photographer, you might have heard of the Hasselblad brand. Hasselblad cameras are what took these photos of the moon for the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. This camera is a medium format camera that takes 6 by 6 centimeters square images, and not only did it create the legendary photos for the moon landings, but it also created these iconic album covers that you might be familiar with. Now, Hasselblad is one brand that used to make expensive, luxury, fancy medium format cameras, but if you're more into this niche film space, you might have heard instead of the Mamiya 7, which is a ridiculously priced rangefinder that some people consider to be the best medium format camera of all time. What I personally consider to be a little bit more classic is the Rolleiflex, which features that legendary TLR double lens system, but none of that. Today, we're gonna take photos with something a little bit different. I'm going on a trip to New York City. On this trip, I'm bringing a super high quality but not very well known medium format camera as well that you might not have heard of, and I'll be impressed if you have if you're my age. And what's really cool about it is not only is it sharp and high quality, but it also has a very low price tag in comparison to the competition. But without further ado, let's get to New York.
From the JFK crew, we'd like to welcome you to New York. We hope you enjoy your time here.
Film for Joy. Fujifilm 400 speed, not extra. Made in USA.
I don't know what that means.
It's Ultra Max. So today we're taking photos with the 1969 Mamiya Press Universal camera, and I'll explain its features later on in the video. So the first unfortunate thing to note when I got all these photos back from the lab was that none of them had the flash in them. As in, the flash was firing, so during the photos I thought it was working properly, but it turns out that this lens has multiple flash settings, and I guess I must have had it on the wrong one. So it's a bit of a bummer, and it means that most of the nighttime and Times Square and indoor photos, a lot of them just didn't really hold up. I can't play the actual song or I'll get demonetized.
And do you know what's the...
Bone apple teeth.
Did you want anything? I would have bought.
On one of the days during our trip to New York, we woke up kind of early to chase the morning golden hour sunlight, and I underexposed all of these shots to try and get a more dramatic look. I didn't really know how it would turn out, but I was pleasantly surprised by the results. I kind of like shots like these because they don't only focus on the subject, but also the environment. So to describe the camera system, the Mamiya Press is just a block of metal essentially with a window that helps you frame and focus the photo. The lens, back, and even the handle are all detachable, which means that you can mix and match different focal lengths and film backs. The lens contains what's called a leaf shutter, which is a built-in timer with metal blades that do the work of exposing the film for durations from 1/500th of a second to 1 second. The window is a rangefinder, which means it contains 2 images. It has kind of the general frame, and then also has that yellow like circular image in the center. If you rotate the lens focus such that the 2 images align, you know that the photo won't be blurry. I mean, unless you screw this up like I often do. So on this trip to New York, we actually didn't spend the whole time in Manhattan or Brooklyn or the big city, but instead we took a metro all the way north to Hastings-on-Hudson. The town has a little bit more of a relaxed vibe, which I thought would be interesting to also get on film. So today's a beautiful day in Hastings, our last day here, the day after the snowstorm, and it's a nice blue sky, so I've got some Kodak Gold loaded up in here, and hopefully I can take some nice photos. Dang, are we in San Francisco? Brownstone type. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of like Brooklyn, actually. So one thing I noticed while walking around here is that the Taking photos with this camera is not quite as satisfying as taking photos with the Hasselblad. The Hasselblad, if you've ever used one, has this really loud mirror slap up and a lot of different kinds of, really satisfying like cranks and knobs and things like that. And the Mamiya Press is a little bit more low key, which actually is really good if you're trying to be a little bit more discreet. I mean, I know this is not exactly the discreet street photographer's camera, but it's a lot quieter for sure, and I think would be a little bit less bothersome to use in a quiet place like a library or cathedral or something. Despite how tortured my girlfriend looks in these clips, I assure you she was also having a pretty good time. Probably. For a little comparison for what the photos look like in the Mamiya Press versus something like Joy's Contax T2, which is, again, medium format versus 35 millimeters. On the left here, I've got a photo that the Mamiya Press took of a blue car in Hastings, and on the right, it's the exact same shot, but with Joy's Contax instead. So in all honesty, I really can't tell the difference at all for this kind of subject. But when we do zoom in, we see a lot more detail, I would say, in the shot by the Mamiya Press, which I expected since it's a larger film format. So where the Mamiya 7, which I talked about earlier, takes 6x7 centimeter images, quite a bit smaller, that camera system goes for around $3,400 on eBay. You can find the Mamiya Press for only $240, which is surprising to me not only because it's cheaper, but also produces higher resolution photos. So all in all, I shot 7 rolls of film, and because this camera takes large images, you only get 8 shots per roll. So 7 times 8 means that I shot about 56 photos, and out of those 56, these 8 were my favorites. So I would say 1/7 of the time I shot a photo I really liked, which I think is quite a good ratio. In any case, thanks a lot for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.